Xiquillegua in Xochitl, xiquillegua in Pamoyolo,
We arrived at the Zocalo, the center of Mexico City. But we did not see Tenochtitlan. It was not there. Instead, we got to see make-believe Aztecs, shamans blessing people for a fee, and fake Aztec dancers. Feeble reminders of that great city. Our guide Alejandro tells us that Tenochtitlan was razed to the ground by its enemies 6 centuries ago, and Mexico City was built over its ruins. But all is not lost. He shows us 3 relief models on the pavement to help us visualize Tenochtitlan. In the first one, we see the Valley of Mexico with its lake Texcoco. The Aztecs are commanded by an oracle to build their city where an eagle sits on a prickly pear cactus and eats a snake. Witnesses saw that event actually happen on an island of Lake Texcoco. So the Aztecs built their city right there on that island and named it Tenochtitlan, meaning a prickly pear on a rock in Nahuatl language. That year was 1325 of the Common Era. In the second model, we see an aerial view of that island city. Then, home to nearly 500,000 people. It's rich with buildings and streets. Its causeways connect to the mainland. Its boats move people and goods by water. The island became a natural fortress well defended from its enemies. In the third model, we see the city's holy enclave, the sacred precinct. There are many shrines here. We see a shrine with a rotten spire for Quetzalcoatl, the god of wisdom. One that stands out is the famous Templo Mayor. It is a pyramid 60 meters tall. At the Museum of Anthropology, we see a colorful model of the same sacred precinct. The Templo Mayor is a twin temple, each with its own steep flights of stairs. The right one is dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, the Aztec god of warfare. The left one to Tlaloc, the god of rain and agriculture. For 6 centuries, Tenochtitlan lay buried under Mexico City. About 40 years ago, in 1978, it was rediscovered. An electrical worker started digging up the ground in the Zocalo. His shovel hit a large circular stone carrying a carving of the Aztec moon goddess Coyolxauhqui. This stone was known to sit at the bottom of the stairs of Templo Mayor, below her brother Huitzilopochtli's shrine. More digging around revealed these bottom stairs. Soon, more digging followed and other structures were revealed. And the ruins of the great city of Tenochtitlan surfaced. The only building in Tenochtitlan which was spared from destruction was the palace of the last Aztec king, Moctezuma II. It became the seat of the new government and others who followed them. Today, it is a complex of European-style structures. One of them is the National Palace Museum. We enter its foyer of many arches and go up a marble stairway. On the right wall of the first landing is a huge mural, a collage of Aztec culture. Diego Rivera, a renowned Mexican artist of the 20th century, painted it. A volcano at top left, the sun god in the middle, and the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl on the right. In front of a pyramid sits an Aztec king in its Quetzal headdress. We see a corn festival, tortilla making, soldiers in action, traders and weavers. At the Anthropology Museum, we can see most of the relics from the ruins of Tenochtitlan. The spectacular Stone of the Sun is one of them. It is a sacrificial altar with the face of Xiuhtecuhtli, the god of fire and of life after death. We also see the stone of King Moctezuma I. It is 360 centimeters in diameter with a solar disk on top and battle scenes all around the periphery. Also on display is the monolithic throne of Moctezuma II. So is his Quetzal feather headdress replica. We also see ornaments of gold and musical instruments made from conchs, reeds, bones, and even logs of trees. The Aztecs, like other Mesoamerican cultures, recorded their activities on codices, pictorial manuscripts made by painting on paper or fabric. A few are on display at the museum. Most of them were burnt as pagan documents by invaders. Only a few escaped or were created later. It is from these that we get to know the Aztecs better. One gory codex shows a human sacrifice ritual at Templo Mayor. A living human's heart is ripped out as an offering to the gods. The Anthropology Museum also displays the staple foods of the Aztecs: corn and beans, Models of Aztec markets show us more. Squashes, potatoes, chili pepper, fresh and dry, and a wide variety of vegetables. We also see meat, but mostly fish and small game. Trade and commerce flourished in Aztec times. We also see a model of their home and kitchenware. In the upper promenade of the National Palace Museum, a mural shows the making of tortillas, a process not too different from how it is done today. Another mural shows the harvesting of cocoa, used as drink, food, as well as currency. We also learn about the Aztecs from several grisaille, monochrome paintings which look like sculptures. In one of them, we see farmers poke holes in the soil and drop in seeds to grow corn and beans. It is their milpa method of agriculture. The Aztecs farmed not only on land but also ingeniously on water. To see evidence of that, we drive to Xochimilco. A suburb of today's Mexico City. There we see a canal packed with colorful flat-bottomed boats. We board one and go for a ride. We see several boats and smaller canals, as well as vegetation-rich banks. In Aztec times, this entire area was just a shallow lake. The Aztecs scooped out channels in the lake bed and built banks on either side with the removed soil. Then they seeded these fertile banks to produce bountiful crops. This Aztec technique, called chinampas, transformed the entire lake into a huge produce farm. The farmers themselves cooked, slept, and lived on these banks or on boats. As they might have done once, we also have our lunch on board, with fresh-made tortillas, fruits, and drinks. We sit back, relax, and watch boats and residences go by. The Aztecs found many uses for the maguey plant, a variety of agave. Its leaves were made into paper to make their codices. Its fiber was woven into fabrics and into sponges, Its sharp needle was used for sewing these fabrics into clothes. Its flower-bearing stem oozed a sweet liquid when cut. This sap was collected and fermented into pulque, a weak alcoholic drink. The maguey was venerated as the goddess Mayabel, a curer of diseases. Today, that sweet liquid is fermented into very potent liquors, like tequila, a product of the blue agave. At Teotihuacan, we sampled some, spiced with salt, chili, and lemon. In Tashko, we tried another liquor, the mezcal, and in style. We had a lesson in the finer points of serving that as a cocktail. For over 300 years, the Aztecs were a dominant and complete civilization, as good as any of that era. But they are long gone now, leaving behind just a few glorious relics, customs, and their DNA in today's Mexicans. It took only 2 years between 1519 and 1521 of the Common Era for their catastrophic end. How did these mighty Aztecs fall so quickly? We try to get some answers.
Chiquillo